So,
all right, Casey is the perfect guest for this, as they have relayed to me that while you were still in the bathroom, Woolie, that fighting games are an old time thing for them. You were telling me about how much you love Bloody Roar.
oh, awesome game.
Yeah, Bloody Roar was like, there was a PlayStation 1 eras where like my peak fighting game kind of era. I was big into Darkstalkers, Rival Schools.
Yes.
That game freaking slapped.
Yeah.
All right.
That was so good.
And it's about to get re-released on Steam, actually, after a long time. They're finally putting out a collection with it. Super cool.
Yeah,
so,
it's Capcom Fighting Collection 2.
So wait, does that mean that like your default form is the sloth, but then when you Bloody Roar go beast mode, it becomes a cow?
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
You want.
So
mid combo.
This level of fighting game background is perfect for the question that I have been wrestling with really hard every time I think, talk, or play about the Project L / League of Legends fighting game 2XKO. Casey, if you were looking forward to a fighting game that had been in development for just under a decade, how many characters do you think should come out on the launch day of that game?
64.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I love how every time, like, Pat, your ability to load the questions up with all the toppings is unrivaled. The most loaded questions of all time.
Yeah. So would you say that 10 is a weird number for that?
Possibly. It was the way you were phrasing that. It was either going to be a really big number or a really small number.
Right.
So I probably overshot. Is it
the Alpha Lab 2 was this weekend or whatever, right? And I played some of the Alpha Lab. I'm sure you did too, Woolie.
Yep.
For 2XKO.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy to me how, because Casey, the Alpha Lab for this, essentially a free alpha that you could sign up for and play, right? And my initial impressions were, hey, this is pretty cool, but there were only like 6 characters available because it's a test, right? And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see how many more this roster's going to be really cool, I bet. And now
I know the skin. Is the League of Legends fighting game thingy?
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah.
So then they announced that the total roster at launch would be 10, which is most people were expecting like
a lot more,
30, something like that. And it has completely changed every single way that I feel about this game entirely. And because one of the things that I was worried about, I played the Alpha Lab and I'm like, all right, let me sit down and play the Alpha Lab. And I saw the same 3 characters in every single match I played for hours. I saw Darius or Ari in every single match I played during the Alpha Lab for hours. And it was like, oh, this is going to be a bummer.
So
I was watching you play this the other. Why did I blank on this one?
Oh, you actually saw my stream?
I was actually watching your stream. Yeah.
So, well, it's not out yet.
This just washed over my head completely. It just did not. Nothing latched on.
It's not out yet, but it'll be coming out shortly, and it's been in development for a really long time. And as a League of Legends related property, it's had a really long time to develop, and they've had I guess the ability to kind of, I think the goal with each of the games is kind of like, whether it's this or Runeterra or Valorant and stuff, they always kind of are like, we want to make a big splash in the space of the genre that we're coming out in, if not like take it over, or at least land in those top 3 most discussed games, and they certainly picked the team that like has the ability to make a like really good fighting game that is like also being made in North America, you know, without necessarily going to like one of the Japanese developers that made like Guilty Gear or Capcom or something like that. But I think in like seeking like perfection out of the gameplay, which is very, very tight, and I have a lot of points on you know, my impressions of the alpha from this weekend. It just took them so long to get the roster out that we're gonna probably, I think this first year, variety is the number one problem that the game has right now. And I think
it's not just that the roster's small, Casey, it's they're all like really normal looking characters. They're all really, really standard.
The guy I was watching, you were playing the other day, and it was the playing as a guy who looked like a knockoff of Garrison from Battle Chasers.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. I was playing Darius.
Darius,
yep.
yeah.
Is that?
Yeah.
Absolutely, because like League of Legends has a massive roster, but the ones they've picked are all from like the beginning of the game's life cycle, and they picked all the normal humans or human adjacent.
Ilaoi came later, right? I believe that I was told she was.
She is later,
she's a later
which is
edition.
why she has some sauce.
But it does. I'm also reminded every time we talk about the lack of giant freak, you know, characters that we love. Is I'm always reminded of that Asia top 100 versus North America top 100, and how the Asian top 100 characters are all like the pretty human beings. Stars. They're all the pop stars, right? Everyone that is beautiful and young and hot is the most popular. So like North America is way more down for the volley bears and blitzcranks, you know, but like that is a localized flavor. That being said, though, just character variety, I'd say is number one thing with it as well. Because the other problem that goes alongside character variety is that in a game like this, where it's team based, you're going to see the more characters more often because it's teams of two that you're fighting against. And if somebody on that team is really good as an assist or that jumps in to support you, that character is going to be seen even more often because they have a really good utility. That means like people are not just going to pick two that they love; they're going to pick the one that's a great partner and the one they love. You know,
I'm seeing a future in which there's the 3 out of 10 top tier characters and the 2 good assists, and now all of a sudden your 10 character roster is down to like 4.
And this is kind of what happened with with Marvel versus Capcom and Dragon Ball, and a lot of kind of fast hyper fighters tend to have a similar thing where like you're gonna find, you know, you're picking 2 characters that you're a fan of and maybe one that you don't care about, but man, are they great as an assist to help you throw a beam out or do something that's great for your offense. And then, of course, there was Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, where they said, well, let's just put the stones in place. Let's put the Infinity Gauntlet stones to replace a character pick, you know. And I think here, this game kind of has something similar where the fuses are all like a very, very unique way that your team is affected. And variety is going to come more from fuses than from the cast. But
yeah, no one likes that.
But that's not enough because looking at the game, you want to see this giant source roster of hundreds of characters. It's coming from a place where the whole thing is, everyone's got a list, you know, and when you're kind of like
every person who's interacted with League has a big list of like 50 characters they would like to see, and way too many people are like, how did zero of the people in my list make it onto this roster?
Right, you're getting prepared to be like, I guess I'll accept seeing 5 that I want, and then the remaining 50, you know, will show up later or something. And you're like, actually,
make even a full team of 2 characters with characters I like in the current roster.
So that's the number one thing, I'd say, the number one flaw right now that we feel for sure. And then at the same token, I feel like when you look at, okay, how much work is going into each character and like how is this taking so long? Jinx is the new character that was available, and did you mess with her at all?
No, I didn't.
She's incredible, right? She's a very, very sauced up, like zoning character. She's really good. And it feels a lot of fun to use her tools together. You can immediately see that, like, the way she plays is she's got her little Gatling gun that you can shoot straight forward, or you can like aim it upwards in like an arc that sweeps. She can send out little robot monkeys. She can send out little flying drones and bouncing like biting traps. And then she has the ability to like shoot them to make them fly further forward towards you, or like electrocute them, and then they move in different patterns across the screen. And overall, the combining of like all her little traps and your ability to shoot your guns and shoot your missiles and fill the screen with stuff is very, very like there's a lot of freedom in like how you can play as her, you know. And then when you get really good, you can start to see like her combos involve very skillful juggling of your opponent with like using your big rocket hammer to launch them into the air, throwing out a trap, shooting them, and then the trap is bouncing behind them to like grab them back, and then you continue the combo. And it looks really cool. She seems like a very well built, you know, in the same way that like a lot of these characters, like they think about a lot and they make sure that each time a character comes out, they put a lot of work into it. You can see that. And so I feel like the philosophy here is like a part of the reason why things are going to take this long is because each time they build out a character, they're going to make sure that they're very thorough and complete and have a whole lot going on with them. But I'm just like, I don't know if that the trade-off is going to mean as much for general audiences, because as someone who likes fighting games, I love when a character feels like they have a very complete kit that works really well within itself. But like, are we trading off quantity and quality in a way that, you know, might hurt the game in the long run?
So, Wooly, I totally agree and understand everything that you say. And what's interesting is that somebody who used to agree with you and now no longer agrees with you is Tom Cannon, the lead developer of this game, because he just gave an interview a couple days ago about how he feels about the roster going forward.
Oh, yeah?
I have the quotes up here.
And so he thinks that the quantity over quality is the road forward?
I can say that we have champions that we're working on that you haven't seen yet. I'll tell you, for me, a number that would feel better than 10, just my personal opinion, is around 24. I think that at 24, you're like, okay, now there's enough to keep me going, and then we can add more and more. But as what would be a good enough for me, or rather a good starting point, 24.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's saying they're going to hit 24 by the end of the year.
So then he's agreeing with me then. I'm saying I think the number of characters going up matters more, especially given the license this is connected to and the impression that you want to have for a game like this coming out free to play for a lot of people. Picking characters and just connecting with them is the first thing you do in a game like this. And the fact that there's a lot of, I can see why they take as long, but I think more characters is more important for a game like this.
So there's a second part to this, which has something that I really want to criticize very heavily. He goes on to say, we're not close to that now, so we're going to work quickly to get to that point, which is 24. And then we're going to keep going. The reason why I'm being a little cagey at this stuff is because, honestly, we're still getting better at this. This is a new fighting game team, even though we've been at this for a little while, which in a little while is 10 years. Even though we've been at this for a little while, we're not on like version 5 of a franchise, right? We're building this team, and as we go, we're learning how to do things. You're seeing the game get better, look visually better, and the character kits get more dialed in. As frankly, we're getting more familiar with the game and better at our jobs. So my main complaint about this statement is, first of all, it is very reasonable, and I get it. My main complaint is he goes, well, we haven't been, this isn't version 5 of the game, right? And it's like, I know for a fact it is version 3 of the game that they have built up. This is the third version of 2XKO after it used to be something else, and then they scrapped it, and then they used to be something else, and then they scrapped it. So they are essentially on their third iteration of this game.
I think what I took that to mean like releases, because there is a difference between internal re-scrapping and starting over versus
but they
the
could
public
have totally
reception.
Released this game at least twice by now.
Definitely. It could have been, but I think that there's a huge difference in the amount you learn from a release and from the public getting their hands on something and taking that into your sequel versus the internal like shit we fucked up, start over. You know,
I don't know Tom Cannon. I've never met him and I've never spoken with him, and I'm sure, and I know he's behind GDPO, and this team is clearly working very hard. I think they have made the game wrong if they are at the point of 9 years of development that they're coming out with something that is actually under like 18 months to 2 years of development. Like that's kind of like what happened with the Anthem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone would. I think it's clear that like something did not go according to plan if this is the launch roster for sure, and it's the whole time we've been talking about this game over the years, looking forward to it. It's been all the discussion has always been about, man, what a big roster to pick from. Who are we going to get? You know,
like that has been the assumption for like 8 years talking about this game. They like, and I don't know what their plans were, but I feel like they really should have looked at the fact that the expectation was for a big Marvel style roster,
1,000,000%
the whole time.
I think
and like.
Besides the fact that like Riot is like, I guess, willing up to a point to, you know,
I think that point is over.
This, that they were willing to up to now kind of like let it go and just keep cooking. What I will say is that like optimistically, the problem that we're describing is a fixable one. It's like you need to start putting out the characters and getting that number up, and as that number goes up, this problem becomes less of an issue, and I think that you're going to see that over time as well. And it doesn't have to have the by being free, it's not the Concord thing, right, where you're like, okay guys, please pay for 10 characters and enjoy this incomplete kind of you're fighting the same character a lot vibe for a while until it slowly gets where it wants to be. I think that like by coming out free and then doing this, it's one of those games where you can play it, get in and be like, maybe I'll tune back in when I see who I want to play show up. Maybe I'm looking for Volley Bear, Blitzcrank, Teemo, right, Vi, any arcane character, whatever the case is, and it can be something like that. But overall, this is a solvable over time problem that you're not hitting the wall of like, I spent my money, where the fuck is the variety I'm looking for?
I worry about that because like, so League of Legends has 170 characters ish, and 20 of them are free on rotation at any given time, right? So 20 is 2 times as many characters as you need to field a full match in League, right? This game's going to come out with 10. How many of, and it's a free to play fighting game, so some characters will be available for free on rotation. I assume it's going to be 2 or 4 characters on rotation. That is going to be a lot of matches against the same characters.
You mean the free?
Yeah, into XKO.
Because
you're gonna have to unlock characters in that game.
Okay,
if they're not on rotation.
Okay, so was League where was it Dota or League where it was full roster and you buy cosmetics?
It's Dota that's full roster at all times.
Okay, League you had to unlock through game currency or purchase
or buy, and they rotate the free ones around.
Okay.
So in 2XKO, they announced that they're going to have a tournament mode that's offline that unlocks all the characters.
Yes.
Which says that the main online mode will have most of the characters locked.
Right.
Which means like, I think Darius and Ari as a tag team is really like outrageously common now. And all I can think of is wait until those are the only free characters available for like an entire month.
Has that release structure worked? Have they done that for all their other games as well?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Because this feels like a game where the Dota approach would actually be way better for what they're going for, and that like this would be a good time to try that out instead. You know,
that would be a good time to try that. But to do the Dota approach, they need to have like 4 billion cosmetics for all the characters.
Yeah. So I did see as well. Yeah, in Sage, I'm talking to the team. They mentioned that there'd be some unlocking through some way that we haven't seen yet. That's true.
Is it your credit card?
Who knows? Who knows?
It probably is your credit card.
But yeah, no, the definitely for a tournament and for the ability to play this game in locals and things like that, there needs to be something that is like friendly for we have every character unlocked ready to go like a normal fighting game, because a tournament.
Hey Casey, let me ask you. Yeah? You said you saw me playing 2XKO. If you were the kind of person who was like, oh, that game looks cool and it's free, would you be excited to hop into a free-to-play fighting game where there were only 2 characters available to try?
Not particularly, no. I don't play too many free-to-play games in the first place because I don't like the monetization kind of models. My scene, therefore, not too keen on it. No.
So yeah, they need to work on the roster and get that up to snuff for sure. There's a bunch of other stuff about it, impressions wise, that I've felt that I think I want to touch on just before we get off the topic.
Go fast.
Okay, well, roster, big problem, agreed. That aside,
yes.
There's stuff that it's doing really well, and I think what'll be the hallmark identity of it is like the co-op elements are fantastic. The co-op elements in this as a tag team fighter that you play as 2 people together are better than anything that's happened.
Do you feel like a lot of people are going to use that?
I think it'll... I think possibly. I don't know. It's hard to guess. It encourages it in a lot of ways, and the fact that they put in a bunch of new stuff to like do more as a duo, I'm encouraged by that. I feel like it was a lot of fun, kind of just originally, seeing how you could play together and switch off back and forth. But now that they have ways where you can if you're very good at fighting games, but you have a friend who's not too sure how to play, there's a specific way that you can come in with them as an assist that helps you, and they can learn the game while you are taking over as the main character and stuff. Is like a fun teaching kind of mode. That's the sidekick. The sidekick fuse. I think stuff like that's really, really great for like also making the game stand out as a unique thing. People played Smash Brothers in teams of 2 before, and of course there's a WoolieVersus which came and went, which also had a dedicated kind of duo mode. But this is actually playing in a way that is legitimately like refreshingly new and fun, and you have synergy with the person you're playing with. And I think this is the standout that is going to make this game, like, if you are somebody that wants to play cooperatively with your friends and stuff together, this is going to be more memorable for sure as a feature compared to other fighters. If you have somebody be like, hey, you should try this game out, in fact, I'm pretty good at it, or let's play together. And then you'd be like, okay, I've never touched it before, but you show me the ropes. I'll just join a team with you, and then they can kind of walk you through it. I think that's a really cool thing that other fighting games couldn't do, and so that feels stronger here because they have this thing, right? The sidekick thing I mentioned.
Let me ask you, how do you feel about the length of matches? Because there's a
gonna
video
get there.
going around.
Gonna get there. Let me just hit some of the things, right? So Juggernaut also is a really cool way that you and your friend can both be on the same team, and you can almost like play together. And if you can jump in on rounds where you think, I got this match, let me take over, or let me just watch you play. And so that's another way as well of you kind of playing together with a friend. And a lot of what I've wanted fighting games to do has been my main feature I want them to have is squad up on the title screen. Give me the same thing that an Apex Legends or Fortnite or any of these other games do, where you're encouraged to just jump into a Discord chat with your buddies and play together. I would love that, and I think that here you have that ability, right? So like I'd like to see them further lean into these really awesome things they're doing. I think that something as well that it's nice is like, okay, they've made the combos shorter. And that overall has, affected that feels better too. In a lot of cases, you don't have the same super long Ari combo loop that we saw that took like a million years before, and that felt very boring to just kind of stare at a long thing lasting forever. They've all like the kind of flip side of it is that like shorter combos kind of get into like this ideal damage range faster. And then if you do like extensions and try to style too much, it really scales downward and like kind of stops it from paying off. So there's a little bit of a feeling where I tried to do some more advanced stuff with Ilaoi, and I kind of realized it's like, even when I pulled it off, the damage wasn't worth it, you know? So there's a little bit of a homogenizing effect there that I'm like, okay, well, I hope that the variety with your assists and stuff can still keep that fresh. But overall, shorter combos does, you know, feel like you could get back to the game and it's more engaging in that way. I also think the change they made in the Alpha Lab 2, where you can do push blocking more frequently, is great, because you call in your assist to do that now, whereas before it used to cost a meter, which I'm like, I don't want to spend a super just getting you off of me for 1 second.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
You know, so putting that on your partner is a lot better, and that means that, like, great, I've used my partner up to push you off, now I don't have an assist for a couple seconds, but like, hey, it doesn't feel as bad to use that resource because it does replenish, you know, after a couple seconds. And then I also think that when you died, if your character had a leftover meter and you switched to the new character, that leftover meter, you wouldn't be able to do anything with it. But now they have a very elegant solution where you can use that leftover meter to do a super assist with a dead partner. And I think that's a really smart way to use something that was otherwise just sitting there pointlessly, you know? So that was well done. I think there's also, when you jump online, you get a end user license agreement that basically says, don't be a fucking asshole, and we will kick you if you're a griefing shit, you know, which is like, I want to see how they enforce this, but the messaging that basically is like, if you're a rage quitting baby, if you don't like, you know, playing with others and playing nicely, then there's other games for you, get out.
Yes, like League of Legends.
I appreciate the you know, the wall they put up on that agreement sign. Let's see how they enforce it, you know. But it's nice to see that it's
if you're a whiny
policy.
diaper baby, we have League of Legends over here for you to diaper baby your way as much as you want.
Please try one of our other offerings on the Riot launcher. Now, yes, so character variety. Now back to, so as far as the problems go, that's the one of them. And then the second thing is, because they've increased the ability for you to, okay, so shorter combos also means that they've increased your ability to like tech roll, get out of situations, avoid situations where your character was stuck on the ground and then you had to like wake up and guess, you know, what was about to hit you. Now you can evade that a lot easier, and so as a result, some people are playing much more defensively and much more keep away.
Much more defensively.
I noticed that at the lower level matches, when people are not too familiar with the game, things were more or less fine. It was going along and everything was every match was reaching its intended conclusion. And then when I fought against a lot better players, there was a lot more like, actually I'm going to hang back and run away from you, and that resulted in more time overs. So that was an issue.
It's a really long timer.
Yeah.
It's like 120 seconds.
Yeah. So that was something I saw other channels were discussing this too. I felt it when I had some of the matches against some stronger players, and people were just like, you're chasing them down the whole time, and they're like, I'm playing Runaway essentially. We used to joke about it because in Street Fighter Cross Tekken, the timer and the damage numbers and the ability to just run away was the optimal way to play. And here, this has happened again in some bad ways where, like, you know, one of the examples that was given in a Broski video was a situation where both characters, one person was down a partner, so they had two on one side, and then the opponent had one character left. The one character left was likely not going to win because on her own, she was just going to likely be outclassed. And so it was a situation where if she were to fight back at that point, she would be giving her opponent more resources by fighting. So it's better for her to just die. But then the opponent is like, I want those resources, so I'm actually going to wait for you to come to me to make sure that, you know, and so it became this moment of both characters being like, I'm not going to come to you, and I'm not going to come to you, and you're like, the incentive structure to fight has broken, right? Which is a very specific thing that can happen when people are playing the game at a level where they understand how the resources work and how much it's like, I need to prepare for the next round. This round is already gone. You never want your fighting game to become something where
it's like Injustice, man.
The best move is not to play, right? Injustice is one example. The thing I think of is King of Fighters 12, where it became like every minute or less, or every couple, maybe like 20, 30 seconds, you would build up this meter that made you so strong. And for the next 10 seconds, I got to run away from you. We play cat and mouse. And then when it's gone, we can go back to playing the game normally. That's not fun. That sucks. Right?
You know what's really interesting, though? This is actually something that happens in League of Legends all the time.
Really?
Well, yeah. It's like, okay, 2 of my guys are dead. There's a big team fight coming up. It would be 3 versus 5. They want to take the tower. The smart move is to not fight them at all and let them take the objective, because if we fight them, we'll lose, and then we'll be even further behind.
Yeah, that is bad. If your game incentives break apart and you're like, the best move is not to play, then you need to change the rules of the game to make sure that doesn't happen.
No, man, it's accurate. It's accurate to League of Legends. They're doing it on purpose.
So what I will say is, between the last Alpha Lab and this one, they did address some of that stuff. So this is a new problem we're seeing, and hopefully, they address it the same way they did the stuff last time. But they got to fix that for sure.
I think that also calling it an Alpha Lab is so silly. The game's been in dev for 9 years and it's still an alpha. Guys.
Yeah, okay. It's as
You're not content locked yet? You're not even in beta?
Right. As opposed
Are you kidding me?
As opposed to beta or content complete, or release candidate. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. What else I mentioned? Oh yeah, like I kept accidentally they changed the sweep inputs to be like I think it's like down forward for sweeps, and like down and down back is for launchers, and I kind of prefer the invert of that, but whatever, that's extremely minor. The last thing I'd say on the negative side as well is I tried ranked and I couldn't get a single match, so it seems like ranked was not working.
Not a single one.
Nope. And I saw a tweet that implied that there was a particular range of time where they told people try ranked from like 5 p.m. to 8. From like, there's a window where they said we want to try this out here now as a part of the test, but for the regular duration of the Alpha Lab, ranked was just not working. So
couldn't play one single match.
Nope. Other bad note about the ranked is that apparently when it does work, it resembles Guilty Gear Strive's ranked system, which is that you are in a room with your ranked opponents, and it's like tower floors where you have to fight everyone in that room, as opposed to just hitting a button and saying, find me anyone anywhere that matches my criteria.
And
that sucks because people
things take time. It takes time to polish these things out.
And so that ranked option sucks because you just give people the ability to dodge ranked fights or to pick and choose. And Guilty Gear Strive gave us a lot of reasons why you need to not have people having control over what ranked fights they're going to have. You need to just like hit the button and get something. So I hope they fix that too, because that's a bad idea.
Hey, I have a question for both of you, especially because you're both on like opposite ends of the level of interest on this. Because I want to know if I'm being an asshole here. I feel like for every year of development on a game over 4, like nitpicking becomes more like justifiable. Right? Like if 2XKO came out in 2 years and it had all these little issues, I'd be like, well, they're working on it. But at this point, like I expect this game to come out with a mirror shine.
Well, there's as far as to me, the thing is, like when we talk about Silksong, it's like lasted so long and has become such a topic, and we also
Silksong must be the greatest game ever made.
We do feel it more because our jobs involve talking about it week to week.
What's that, Casey?
I'm just saying, let them cook.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be weird about it. Just let them cook.
I'm hoping that so for 2XKO, getting my hands on it.
I don't want to.
But so Pat, for me, I'd say like getting my hands on it. It feels like I'm confirming that I'm having fun with the way this game plays, and it feels more real. So I'm excited about the things I like, and I want more of that. Right? if you're looking for an out or a reason to not care about these games, then you can be like, that shit sucks, I'm out of here, fuck that. If you want a ripcord or a parachute to escape.
Actually, no, I'm in the opposite camp. I want a reason to care about this game because there are tons of characters I want to play in it, and they have not put even one character I want to play in it.
Okay.
And and so all the other little minor issues are like infuriating, and I could ignore all of those if they put a character I wanted to play in it.
I think that like there's in the overall, like, well, I feel like I like Alawi, so I didn't feel that part of it, but I want more. I want to see all
Alawi's
those.
Cool.
Yeah, I want to see all those other characters I mentioned, like,
if they
from
put
a while
Teemo
ago.
and Nautilus in this game, I would never complain about it again. I would run that team no matter how shit it was.
But with this, and we mentioned with Guro a little bit and stuff. Like in terms of like when I touch it and I go like, yo, this is a thing that I'm gonna have fun with. I enjoy what's here, and there's these problems. I want to see these things ship up and get into better shape. I think they can. And yes, I'm also invested in the genre, so like I'm optimistic about good entries in that, like working out and helping the health of fighting games over in the long run. So I'm going to be like, well, is that a fixable problem or is this fucked forever? And if it's fixable, then it's like, okay, cool. Well, I hope by this time, within a couple of months, or maybe even by next year, we won't even be thinking about that. And you'll just be like, oh yeah, here's what's going on with it, and it'll be a good part of the FGC.
So, I have a reverse thing to say about the roster, where I don't know if there's a character they could put in that I would be like, roster saved. But I do know that there's a character they could put in that I would be like, this roster is cooked. Like, if they put in, there's a character called
Ronaldo.
No. There's a character called yes. There's a character called Garen that they could put in, and I'm like, if Garen made it into the launch roster, I would be like, this game has no hope of future, because Garen is the guy that Darius is ripping off.
Oh, the other Ryu.
The other guy.
Yes, the evil, the good, the hero guy. I remember in Runeterra, he was a thing. Yeah. I mean, if he's a launch default expected thing, just push it later. If he has to be there, then let him show up, but just push it for later.
He needs to show up in 4 years.
But yeah, that's kind of all it is just it's a matter of perspective, right? I look at these other things, and like, to me, what matters a lot is how the game feels to play, what's going on with the whole 2v2 system or 2v1 system, the how fun it is to use the characters, find combos, matchups, all that stuff, the ingredients that we enjoy in a fighting game. And like, the roster is like something where I'm like, if they say they're gonna fix it, right? They said they're going to announce characters and they're going to come out, so all we can do is just like wait to see how frequently that happens. But you
said something really interesting. You said that you described all the mechanics as the ingredients that we enjoy in a fighting game.
Well, the stuff that I'm
that, like, I understand what you mean by that, and I'm like, I think there's a genuine difference of a like perspective here. Is like, to me, the single most important ingredient in every fighting game is the roster.
Yeah, no. I completely agree, right? I don't want this to sound like, oh, I'm like FGC pill-brained and that's all I care about, the functions versus the cool-looking thing, because, hey, look, I got me a muscle mommy, and I'm happy,
Smash
and that's
Brothers,
dope.
even though that game's for, like, babies, because, like, Richter Belmont's in it.
More to the
Stinky
point,
babies.
more to the emphasis I want in what I'm saying is that if they said, yeah, I don't know, we'll see when these characters show up and that's all there is to it would be so depressing and crazy to just be like, who the fuck, like, literally, like, you don't know.
That would be so cool of them to do.
And that's thankfully not what we've heard. It's just they say more's coming. There's nothing else to do but see whether it comes fast enough, and I hope it comes. I hope it comes faster.
So much, if they just went, I don't know. When. Oh.
So, I'm completely at the other end of this. you have to have good characters to hook you into something, I think.
Completely.
Yeah.
There is that's why all my favorite fighting games from back in the day are like, here's a bunch of cool people. You gotta hook on to something, you know?
So like we've talked like at length, like over like ridiculous because the number is small, but like it's actually, to me anyway, a much larger problem is that like League has like a crocodile man and like a sand demon and like a evil scarecrow and like just a bunch of millions of weirdos, right? And every single character on this roster is like a normal looking human with like a weapon.
You need something for the sickos.
Yeah, you need that shit for freaks.
And if someone out there is like a big Echo and Braum like main team happy, then like if someone out there is like, I got my mains, then it's like, that's great. You know,
I have seen those people. I've seen
they're
them.
satisfied. But no, you don't want to then end up fighting a ton of mirror matches. That gets very dry very quickly, right? The Skullgirls problem, you know, we've discussed, is that Skullgirls had a small roster on launch, and you could pick up to 3 at a time, so you saw that roster 3 times faster than you otherwise would have. Completely agreed. You know, Marvel Rivals is out and it has a bunch of characters that a bunch of people care about, and they drop new ones every 2 seconds, and it stays being discussed because people are discussing what's going on with Emma Frost right now, and then it'll be Blade, and then it'll be, you know, whatever else is coming. Like,
does someone have the balls to go up to Tom Cannon and be like, why does your shit suck so bad compared to Marvel Rivals? Just like the most disingenuous version of a real question possible.
Because, I mean, I don't know that. Yeah, like, what's the difference between NetEase and what they've given that project versus what Riot has given this one? I don't. You know. I will say that when he says the part where if the quote is that, hey, they're a new team, that makes sense too, in the sense that, like, okay, they're like, that's a very honest, I guess, like, it sounds like, yeah, we're learning and we fucked up that that part of it. I take that. I'm not given reason to think that that's not true. So I think they're just saying, like, yeah, we're going to try to fix the roster, and there's not much else to get into besides, cool, I hope that's what happens because I like the game otherwise.